Hello, this is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan, Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeart Radio. This is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. So, made another mistake. I forgot to post the episode from yesterday. It's coming to you today, so watch that first before you watch this one, because if you don't, you're like, just not going to be caught up on the whole thing. Alright. So I should actually open this up by telling you next week I will not be here. Should be back the week after that, though. Then I might have to leave again. But I'm going to try, I've told you guys multiple times, I'm going to try to do as many podcasts as I can whenever I'm available. I'm going to be able to do it. Like I said, it's reason it's different this year is, I am in school and we were virtual last year and shorter classes, so it was easier to, research, put together a podcast and then do one. This year it's difficult. I have time to do a podcast, but I have to get all the research, and I can't just do a podcast with nothing, But, alright, I've consumed 2 minutes of my podcast so far, so we're going to get into it. So Arch Manning is going to Texas, and it felt like he had this narrowed down. It was I think it was Texas or Georgia for him, about a year ago. Texas A&M. By the way, their rival had a great offseason. Texas just came in, signed Arch Manning. But Texas has 14 to 15 months before Manning actually plays. I think he'll do good there. Again, I think I talked yesterday about how tough it is to, especially for him, actually. I talked about Mayfield having to follow in Wilson's footsteps. That's a tough one. It's really tough following in Peyton Manning and Eli Manning's footsteps. That's pretty tough, especially after the careers they had. Don't underestimate Eli Manning's career. He is one of 2 quarterbacks to beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. And the other one didn't even lead his team to the playoffs that year. He just got them through it. It's him and Nick Foles. Those are the 2 guys to beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. It's an impressive feat. Because if it weren't for them, Brady would have 10 Super Bowls. But anyway, back to Arch Manning. I think that I don't know. I think because it's tough to evaluate a situation like Arch Manning because he's had 3 great fathers before him. That he's related to. So, it's in his genes. That there's no arguing that, but has to live up to it. But you know what? I don't think he's going to be the number 1 pick, because it's a 2026 draft, I believe, that he's going to be in. I don't think he's going to be the number 1 pick in that. To be completely honest, I think he's going to be... I think he'll be in the top 5, but I don't think he's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. What was it? Eli Manning was 4th, I believe. He was the 4th pick. He was the 1st. And then I think either Ben or Rivers was the 2nd, the 4th. And he forced his way out of the Yeah, that's what happened. He forced his way out of the Chargers. Yeah, I'm assuming Arch Manning will not following Eli's footsteps in that category. I don't think he's going to jump teams, you know? Alright. Speaking of which, I think there were a lot of big winners yesterday. I think there was the Pistons and Rockets, I think, won the draft, if I'm being completely honest. I think the Pistons and Rockets won the draft 100%. You know who didn't win the draft? The Knicks. That ain't a shock. The Knicks are just a very, very sad organization. You know, the Longhorns had a great day yesterday. Aaron Judge did. Aaron Judge had a walk-off against the Astros, and as a Yankees fan, that was gratifying to watch. Although they are losing right now, though. So, sorry. Yeah, but I don't think the Longhorns were the biggest winner from yesterday because they're not gonna, you know. I mean, when he plays, I think he is going to be great, but I don't think, you know, obviously it's not going to be an immediate impact. I think Judge is probably the big winner from yesterday. But, the draft-wise, I think it was the Pistons. I like what they're doing. I like Jaden Ivory probably more than I should, honestly, but he's a great two-way player. He's one of the most athletic players in the draft. And I think it's good to put him in the backcourt with Cade Cunningham, who hasn't really reached his peak yet, obviously, but I think he will. And, you know, I just like the way they're building it there. And it's weird because the Pistons haven't really been a good destination since the early 2000s. Haven't really been a great team since the early 2000s, so, you know, but then again, you know who didn't do well? The Knicks. They're just in a rough spot. That's not a good destination. That's rarely been a good destination. I mean, maybe the 90s with Patrick Ewing, you know, that wasn't a bad time for them. Yeah, the Knicks, I mean, hey, they're honestly the Cleveland Browns of basketball, honestly. The Knicks. I just thought, they're the Cleveland Browns of basketball. They've honestly been on a similar path to the Browns for the last few years. Except the Browns have gotten talent. Like, they have the talent to honestly make a deep playoff run, but they just don't have anything else. You know, the Knicks don't even have the talent, but, you know, both teams had that 1 year where they made the playoffs, and it was like, whoa, wait a minute. This could be a dangerous team, and then last year the Knicks proved us all wrong. The Knicks were like a 4 seed last year, too. They were a 4 seed, and I don't know where they are now, but they were not into it last year. They were the 11th seed. It's crazy to think they had a better record than the Lakers, the Knicks, and they're a mess. Guess that the Lakers are I don't know. I think if they had Kyrie, they're going to be more of a mess, honestly. Even though he fills a hole for them, I think he actually creates a new hole, you know? Like, he fills the shooting part, which they really don't have and could really use. But, you know, he's going to add another problem because he doesn't always play. He's not always available. You know back to the, you know what's crazy with the Knicks? They haven't picked up they're not, like, an attractive destination to free agents either. Like, they haven't really picked up a big-name free agent. There was the hype around Kyrie and KD, and they didn't get any of them. The Knicks whiffed on every free agent except for Julius Randle, who I think is an underrated player in this league. I honestly have liked Julius Randle, you know. The Lakers dropped him into, like, his third year, so that's always a good sign. You know, I'm talking crap about the Knicks right now, but the Lakers are actually a pretty bad franchise right now as well. The Lakers haven't really developed a player, like the Knicks haven't developed a player in a while, but the Lakers haven't either. Not since Kobe have they drafted and developed a really good player. You know? They signed Dwight Howard, who, you know, they signed Steve Nash. They signed LeBron. They traded for AD. They haven't, because they dropped Brandon Ingram. He went to the Pelicans. He shined there. Julius Randle went to the Knicks. Had a pretty good year last year. Led him to the playoffs. He averaged 20 a game this year. Yeah, I mean, I'll give him RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett looks like he's going to be good. All right, he looks promising. It's just they're a mess over there. Them and the Lakers are just really... The Lakers, I think, might be right where the Knicks are, honestly. Like, the only difference is that they have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So they have the talent, but nothing's there. The chemistry is not there. Shooting's not there. They're just a mess, the Lakers. And the thing with LeBron and AD is, yes, they're great, but they've been getting injured a lot. Like, AD always has been an injury question mark. Unfortunately, LeBron's injuries kind of came about a few years ago. They kind of emerged and started happening, except for the bubble year where they had months off. That's why it was good for the Lakers, AD and LeBron are both, very prone to injuries at this point. And they got months off, and that helped a lot, But I don't like to say the bubble ring doesn't count because every other team had the same every other team that made the playoffs had the same circumstances as the Lakers. Like, I'm not going to call it a Mickey Mouse ring or anything. Like, there was every team was not in their home stadium, and every team had all those months off. I don't know. It's just... Alright, this isn't about the Lakers, but anyway, Knicks are a mess. That's all I gotta say. The Knicks are just not a team that's gonna draft or develop anyone. So, Kyrie Irving. This is per... Damn. This is per Woj. Adrian Woj. Narowski. Sorry, I was pronouncing the name incorrectly. Anyway, so, if Kyrie Irving cannot reach an agreement to stay with Brooklyn, he created a list of teams he'd like them to consider, if they don't come to an agreement. So it includes the Lakers, the Clippers, and I think that the Clippers can work for him. The Knicks are interesting, but I don't think they'd win with him, because he'd be their leader. And leader, if you're going to be the leader, you can't be missing 50 games. The Heat, I don't think he'd work too well there. The Mavs and the Sixers. Again, some of these teams could use Kyrie. Kyrie would work with some of these teams if he decided to play. Like Lakers, if he plays every game with the Lakers, he fills a shooting void. It's perfect, almost. He worked with LeBron once. If he can get back to that, he'd work with him again. But, like I said, it's about the teams being interested in him. Because no team's going to make a trade if they're not interested in the player, Like, they have to know... They have to make sure that that player... Actually, not even that player, just... They have to make sure Kyrie, because he's really the only star that misses games like that, non-injury related. Like, he missed that many games non-injury related. That's not a good thing. And he passed on $6 million just to not get vaccinated. Like, he is stubborn. Like, it just feels like, Kyrie is a bad option for teams. I keep repeating myself every day, but it's like, And just wait. If he gets traded to a team, I'm going to have a field day with that. It's Kyrie is the definition of a question mark. You know who else is a question mark? Deshaun Watson's future. And you know what the NFL is worried about here? I really don't like talking about this, honestly, because it's a very tough situation for the NFL. I really don't know how they're thinking. And, again, he settled 20 of them. I don't know why he didn't settle them, a year ago, But, the NFL is worried if you give Watson 12 games, what if more accusers come forward? In those 12 games, say you give him actually, that would be a five-game suspension. What if more accusers come forward? Then what are you going to do with him? You can't have him keep playing those games. Because you have to add to his suspension. I mean, then again, when the two other cases came out, I don't think it made much of a difference for how the NFL thought of it. 22 was already a big number, 24 was just bigger, It wasn't two more cases. He's over the cutoff. The cutoff's 23. Take it over, I mean, I think the cutoff for... If you had, I'd say, over 3... once it got over 3 for me, when over 3 people said that Deshaun Watson sexually assaulted them, I was like, ooh, this isn't looking good. 3 people said this already. If one person says it, it's okay, go to court with them. If you're proven guilty, you're suspended anyway, but, it's redeemable. It's redeemable. It's more redeemable. I shouldn't say it's really redeemable. It's more redeemable than if you see a guy who has over, 60 massage clients and friggin' gets 24 women coming forward saying that he sexually assaulted them. Especially if he's... I think, because there's still 4 cases. I think 4 cases is still a lot. He settled 20 of them. Yeah, okay. If he winds up with 4... If he winds up guilty of those 4 other cases, it's still terrible. It's still a long suspension for him. Alright. Let's shift to the NBA. This is a short podcast. Let's shift to the NBA. So, Darvin Ham, it's just... With the Lakers, honestly, I think you could get away with a Westbrook. I mean, then again, it wouldn't be good for the Nets, but on the Lakers side of things, it would be great if you got rid of Westbrook. Honestly, getting rid of Westbrook would be better for them at this point, honestly. Just find another point. He doesn't play defense. Buddy Hield, it would have been so much better if they got Buddy Hield last summer. I was so confused when they went for... Because they were getting shooting. They were adding shooting. There were a lot of guys they added that were 40% from 3 the year before. Carmelo, but he really shut down this year. He was over 40%. You had, And they're not, star guys that are going to give you, 25 a night, but they were shooters. LeBron was the guy that was going to give you, 30 a night. And AD, whenever he was healthy, was going to be a great guy to throw in there. But if they added Buddy Hield, that's another 20-point-a-game guy who can shoot. And they added Westbrook, who can't shoot. He was exactly what the Lakers did not already have. Sure, he brings energy to the court. He's rarely injured, so it was good. He was a guy like, honestly, like I said a few weeks ago, he could have come off the bench. And I think it would have been better. You know, you need an energy boost. Okay. Boom. Westbrook. You know, but just not... He's not a starter, really, right now. For the Lakers. Like, on any other team, he could be a starter. But for the Lakers, it's like... He's not what you... He didn't need him. You needed Buddy Hield, and you didn't get him. And you're stupid for that. And you messed up. You know, they wanted Westbrook, but... That was a huge mistake. Alright, 2 more segments, and then I'm headed out. Hopefully I post this podcast on time, because that would be fantastic. Alright, so I'm gonna really talk about the NBA draft now. What's his name? Paolo Banchero was the first pick of last night. It seemed, from what I heard, I thought it was going to be the Rockets who got him. The one pick I was right on was Chet Holmgren to the Thunder. You know, I didn't think he'd be the first overall pick. I thought it would be Jabari Smith, but, you know, he fell to 3. And maybe that's not the worst case scenario. I think the Rockets are a better scenario than Magic right now. You know? And I think OKC was the right place for Holmgren, you know? It's the best spot for him right now. And like I said yesterday, if any team was going to pick him with no risk, it was the Thunder, because they had 3 other picks. And they draft well normally. Alright. You know, this was a pretty good podcast today. It was a little short, but... Again, as a reminder, I'm going away next week, so... Won't be on here. And I apologize for it, but... What are you gonna do? Like I said, I'll be back the week after, so... Hoping to get a few good podcasts in there, and then I don't know. Whenever I'm gonna leave, whenever I know for sure I'm not gonna be able to get on this podcast, I'll tell you. So, all right, good stuff today. This is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan, Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. It's Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan, and I will see you next Monday.